All right, good day, great day, everyone. It is Latanya. Excuse me for a moment with Latanya Roche in here. We're here today to talk about the topic of psychosocial development and what that means. There are four different stages of psychosocial development. The first one that we're going to go over is trust versus mistrust. What is trust? And we all know that here at Miss Copper Rose community, the one that we trust in is the Most High God. Social Psychosocial development. Trust versus mistrust. What is trust? Trust is a firm belief in reliability, on truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Trust in God. Now, the purpose for us actually having this discussion today is to actually bring further awareness on the development of us as parents and as people, because we have been in a space where we are not very trustworthy of, not just ourselves in most situations, but also we're not trustworthy of others. Okay. And in stage one, which you see here, which is trust versus mistrust, in Erik Erikson and his psychosocial development analysis. And we'll give you the definition of what psychosocial development means. It refers to the development within the social environment in which a person actually lives, primarily focusing on relationships with other people, meaning whether or not you trust someone or they'll put you in a position to mistrust them, or someone trusts you and you may have put them in a position to mistrust you, meaning they no longer have a firm belief in you. They can no longer have reliability in whatever it is that you speak, because they feel as if it is not the truth and it does not have the ability to strengthen them. Okay? So that is what this is talking about. His personality, his work has had a major impact popularizing the idea that personality is dynamic, meaning that our dynamic personality is what you would see as animation, and how people are overly expressive about who it is that they are. Some of us actually look at people's personality and whether or not they're over exuberant in the way they present themselves, as if whether or not they actually have something to hide behind their over exuberance of the expressions being dynamic when it comes to their personality. So it goes on to say that Erikson believed that there are 8 stages in human development, to which he added a 9th, old age, late in his life. He believed that each stage is important for the healthy development of the ego and a fully functional person. The ego and the development thereof is what he would consider to be a fully functioning person. The core of Erikson's idea was what he called the epigenetic principle. He believed that heredity and the environment have bidirectional influences on development. His stages dictate that we must gain certain insight at predetermined times, and those insights build on one another, much like the floors of a new building going up, meaning that it has to have support, the foundation, the flooring, the bottom part of it. It's what, as the building goes up, is what holds the building in its entirety, in its structure. It holds it up. The foundation is what holds it up. And another thing here would be foundational truth. What you know about somebody. What is the foundation of what you know of someone? what makes your perspective, your perception of who they are, be a foundational truth, the flooring of it, where you met, how your conversation began, what happened, um, and how your foundational truth of the flooring, all of the things that came about during the initiation of the conversation, the meeting, and so on and so forth, the foundational truth. Meaning, if someone tells you the truth of a matter at the onset, and I'll just use an example here as far as relationships are concerned, and I don't want to give off the wrong vibration, but let's just say, and we know about cheating people and so on and so forth, but when someone has someone else at home, the foundational truth would be for them to actually exemplify presenting that information at the onset of the conversation to make sure that whomever it is they're speaking to, trying to build a foundation with, they're actually being informed that, hey, I have someone at home. But most times that's not the foundational truth, because what happens is they'll tell a lie and say, no, I don't have anyone at home. And then it's when the situation becomes more than what it actually needs to be, because someone is now under the impression, they're in mistrust now. They're under the impression that this person has no one at home and they can give them their undivided attention, and so on and so forth. That's mistrust. That's misleading, meaning the foundation, and I didn't spell that accurately, but the foundation is going to be faulty now because they have a level of expectation that cannot actually be met because they already have someone at home. So they'll never have that type of relationship. Okay? So foundational truth. Okay? That's why it's important for you not to go off of somebody else's word, what some would call someone else's doctrine, when it comes to getting to know someone for yourself and developing a relationship with them. You should get to know them for yourself and find out whether or not they're actually going to inform you of who it is that they actually are, without someone else, trying to inform them about who you are, trying to create a foundation for you regarding the truth of who they believe that person to be. And we have to always be mindful that other people have hidden agendas and motives, and sometimes people will not tell you the entirety of the truth about someone because they want you to dislike them, because someone, that person may have actually found out foundational truth about them early on, so now they have to try and counteract that, but we won't go into that too much. Again, the epigenetic principle, which is Erickson's core idea. He believed that hereditary and the environment have bi-directional influences on development. And I believe all of us who are, in adulthood, and some who are teenagers, can actually come to a space of comprehending what that actually means. Meaning that the environment where your family came from, your upbringing, and all of these different things have principles in your foundational truth. Meaning certain things were instilled in you by way of your family, certain things were taught to you by way of the community, and these are the things that someone can actually readily assess without even having a conversation with you. Some will say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Show me what it is that you have been surrounded by within the community, which has told you what the truth is within that environment, and someone can actually tell you who you are. Meaning this thing, the foundation, is actually what develops you. It's what gives you ability. It's what gives you strength. It's what tells people whether or not you're going to be reliable and what it is that you're going to be these things in. Okay? So, now that we've talked about that, it says his stages dictate that we must gain certain insight at predetermined times, and those insights build on one another, much like the floors of a new building, as we spoke of just moments ago. During each stage, we face a psychosocial crisis, meaning that we encounter problems. we encounter problems. And what our belief system is will actually reflect how we handle the problem. Whether we're going to show strength, whether we're going to show pettiness, whether we're going to show discouragement, what it is that it's going to look like as we perceive each problem that we encounter according to, yet again, our foundational truth. Oops. Our foundational truths. Right there. How are we going to respond to that? Are we going to react? Are we going to respond? Are we going to fight? Are we going to take flight? Do we know how to urge surf? How are we going to handle the problems that we have when we encounter psychosocial development? Because he said that we're going to encounter problems in each phase of this. Okay? And as we were just talking about, it says the title of each stage includes the word verses. Like you guys know verses, and I've been talking about this. You guys know verses by way of rappers. Verses, right? Because they'll battle, right? So verses. It's just a way for you to actually reflect and understand what it is that I'm talking about, verses. The title of each stage includes the word verses, which means there are two competing forces, as we said, battling, verses, okay? There are two competing forces at work. The first is the desired outcome. What do you want? And the second retards the development of the ego, personality. However, the resolution of each stage should not result in one-sided personality growth. For example, in stage 1, trust versus mistrust, the desired outcome is trust of other people. That, however, must be balanced by reasonable mistrust so that the person is not naive, which would later hinder the development of a healthy personality. So, naivete. Naive. Okay? Not knowing. Or understanding. Y'all excuse me because this chalk is not my friend. I need a pen. It's a smooth surface. But naive, the balancing act, if you will, of trust versus mistrust, means that in most instances, than none, you will find yourself in a space of being naive. And some people call it just allowing them to be themselves. Not being naive, but just wanting to be relaxed in a situation where they don't always have to catch themselves at every turn. They can just be themselves, and that creates balance within the ego. Ego. Some people have big ones, and that helps to create balance again for the ego. It creates balance by reasonable mistrust so that the person is not, again, naive, which is a place of not knowing or not understanding, which would later hinder the development of a healthy personality. There is no firm agreement about the age range for the stage or for this stage or each stage because people develop at their own pace and they develop at their own pace when it comes to the introduction of new situations, the introduction of new circumstances, which is why he's breaking it up into stages, and trust versus mistrust is actually stage one. There is no firm agreement about the age range of the stages because people develop at their own pace. The ages listed are the accepted approximations. So we need to understand these things when it comes to us actually developing ourselves as we become parents of children, excuse me. And we need to recognize these things when it comes to us raising children and setting healthy boundaries and knowing why it's important, understanding why it's important. Let me write this back up here. When mommy daddy says, I'm gonna come and pick you up on Friday afternoon, and mommy daddy doesn't show up, the child took you at your word, trusted what you said, and became excited about it. They were excited, right? But because you don't show up, then you created mistrust. Now you've tapped into the foundational truth, allowing the child to see who you are, that now you are not trustworthy. You cannot be trusted. You cannot be taken at your word. Because you said you were coming to pick them up and you did not do so. Okay? It says stage one, trust versus mistrust, and he went into the space of talking about infancy to 1 year old. During the first year of life, a baby's entire existence depends upon others. And we need to understand that. Infants come to trust or mistrust others based on whether or not their needs are attended to. If you leave your child somewhere crying, because you did not feed them or you did not change their diaper, and you know that these things are something that the child is depending on you for, then you are then creating mistrust. That's bad parenting. Okay? Because the child is totally dependent upon someone else, i.e. you, because you took on the responsibility once you decided that you would lay down and become intimate with someone else, that was a risk that you were willing to take knowingly. And now, because you don't want to develop your mindset as a parent, the baby is facing mistrust issues because you're lacking where you didn't take accountability for your actions. You enjoyed the moment, but you didn't know that he was really going to make it last forever. So it says here, infants come to trust or mistrust others based on whether or not their needs are attended to. If infants learn to trust their parents, they will more easily trust the world as a safe place. According to Erickson, the virtue or quality of hope is associated with this stage. Hope. All right. So now we can talk about trusting God, because hope. Faith is what is hoped for. unseen expectations. Right? So there is a level of expectancy when it comes to parenthood. There is a level of expectation when it comes to parenthood. Our Father, there's a level of expectation when it comes to parenthood. Our Father, putting our trust in Him, developing our relationship with Him, putting our trust in our Father. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. A level of expectation comes along with parenthood because the baby is expecting, or there is a need of expectation for the child to actually be dependent upon the parent. Children of God. And He is our Father. So we have a level of expectation when it comes to Him. We have faith in Him. We trust in Him. Our foundational truth, for those of us who are actually raised in the church and we understand certain foundations about being a believer and believing God and learning that we're not to, lean to our own understanding, but we're supposed to cast our cares onto Him, meaning that there is a level of expectation when it comes to our trust in our Father God, which is a foundational truth. A foundational truth. The foundation of the precepts, everything it is that He has laid out and put forth for us to actually, follow so that we can have an effortless life being His children. Okay? So we have to understand that when we're, making a decision to have sex with someone else, that we need to understand that there is a place where we could actually become pregnant. And in that moment, that little thrill that you get during that moment, it could actually last forever. Okay? So we need to be mindful. We need to be responsible. We need to be accountable because of the level of expectations. Mindful. Oh, that's not right. Be because there is a level of expectation. Because there is a level of expectation. All right. We can also say that there is a level of expectation from God when it comes to us being His children. Things that He expects from us. And I'm going to write them up here. everybody who talked about their teacher and writing on the board. This ain't no easy feat. His expectations. Okay. Looking to him. To him. God. Asking him. And for you to follow his word. To do your work. That's a lot. That hurt. So these are things that we actually need to understand. Talking about psychosocial development with your relationship with the Most High God. Because there are levels of expectations. He knows that we have needs. We understand that we want him to meet our needs. But how do we actually get that to happen for those who are babies? And developing your relationship with him means to seek him, look to him, seek him as a child does a mother. When it's time to get a bottle, get a feeding, get a changing, get a bathing. Okay? We have to pray. And we have to follow his word. Commandments. The commandments. This is what we have to do. Developing our relationship with God the Father. His expectations are to seek him, God, look to him, ask him in prayer, and to follow his word to do your work, which is his will, which will give you the desires of your heart. Okay? So we need to understand these things. That just as we have a level of expectation for him, we can't just go to him any old kind of way. All right? Mentality maintenance. Excuse me for having my back to you. Okay? And that's the psychosocial part of it, the psychosocial development of developing a relationship with God is mentality maintenance, okay? To help with putting things into perspective, understanding what it is that you're doing. How can you get a better grasp on things? How can you get a better grip on it? What is it that you can do as you look at yourself and do your own evaluation analytically of yourself and look to him by way of praying, asking. Let me write that right there. And obtaining. These are the things that you would like to follow. in order to actually gain that. Develop a relationship with God the Father. His expectations are that you seek Him, pray, ask to obtain, follow the commandments, and which is God's will to do your work, which is will give you the desires of your heart, which are the things that He placed down on the inside of you. But you first have to obtain maintaining your mentality and stabilizing yourself from wherever it is that you have been while you have been in a backslidden state, or not even in a backslidden state, but you're wanting to grow beyond where you are. So that is why I'm here today, to help you gain a better understanding about what this whole thing is about. Crazy people, and the different labels that people place on, people who they cannot readily relate to or with, about different things. Okay, so it's not so much so what it is that you believe it is, but psychosocial development is also a part of the kingdom of our God the Father, right? And socially and psychologically, mentality maintenance is what God has given me to extend to the people of God, to help further develop their relationship, a deeper relationship with Him, to create a space of understanding how this whole thing works. All right. So it is Latanya with Latanya Roche Healing Hands, His ambassador in His service, at His service. I hope you guys enjoyed this message. You can like, share, comment. You can go over to hustleandheart.net and actually subscribe. I'll write that up here so you'll have that. It's so crowded, but I'll write it here. It is. And you can actually subscribe there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Love, peace, bless.